This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the sports betting network. We're live in downtown Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino here on a 3-hour football Friday. Primarily college football, the playoffs, and also Week 16 of the National Football League. Great guest today, Pat Forty on college football coming up in 30 minutes. Mike Somich every Friday, best bets in the NFL. John Talty, college football in 90 minutes, and Doug Kazarian, final hour of the program. He thinks there is a bet after last night's game that is free money, and we'll talk to him about that at that point. Okay, so let me just bring this up. And I have listened to zero radio and watched zero television since the game ended last night, other than Jonathan Von Tobel on Money Moves on my way in today. I don't know if anybody else has said this, whatever. But on the 2-point conversion, right, where I feel like they're duping America with this call. The players had no idea. The coaches, us fans, like, what? Get out of here. This is a prank. Stop it. So you're telling me that when this happens again, and I should probably believe that it will because we still have idiots in this league dropping the ball at the goal line. Hello, Arizona and Tennessee. So when this happens again on a backward pass and the whistle is blown and the play is, quote, not dead, when a defender from the opposing team picks it up and tries to take it back for a 2-point conversion or a touchdown, and a superstar quarterback decides to take off after him to tackle him, but the defender has a convoy and that quarterback gets smoked and knocked on his ass, which then the end result would be a brawl because his teammates would stick up for him. You're telling me there's going to be no flag? Then there's going to be no fines? There's going to be no suspensions? It's going to be legal play. That's 2 points the other way or touchdown the other way. Are you serious? Get out of here with this crap. What was that, Paul?
Yeah, that's a bizarre and a tough way to decide a 1 seed. And the fact that Terry has to come in, the play's over. I heard a whistle. Warren Sharp heard a whistle. Other people heard a whistle. And just, 2-3 minutes later, it's okay. Well, it counts. He picked the ball up. And even that just to think that decided. And I know they blew it. I mean, the Seattle was 2% to win it with 9 minutes left, and it's only the 6th time ever that a team puts up those stats, plus 3 in the turnover battle, and they lose, and the special teams got them again. But that is just a horrible way to decide a 1 seed, and you just feel sick and dirty if you have Rams futures with how that was decided, where the up in the booth, next to Al Michaels, McCauley has to point it out and say, hey, this is going to be a successful 2-point conversion. Because everyone assumes the play's over, but one guy just happened to pick it up and grab it.
Yeah, and he tweeted then after the game, let me make this perfectly clear. Whether a whistle is blown or not is completely irrelevant. Who knows about this? Who knew before the play last night?
Yeah,
what are you doing here to us?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying here? And everything that you just said is exactly accurate. I feel like a dead man walking today with my Rams futures. And I did have the Seahawks last night, and I bet them live a couple of times. I was hoping I would lose those bets. Because the 1 seed here, know what happens, by the way, if the Rams get surpassed by the 49ers? Mm-hmm. How far they get? So the 49ers can become the 1 seed if they are the 1 seed if they win out.
I know. Michaels was all over that. That's incredible. And now you're really seeing steam for Shanahan, Coach of the Year, and also they could host the Super Bowl. I mean, this is set up beautifully for the 49ers. I still think they'll take a loss here at some point, but still how it's set up. And Seattle only $1.40 to win the division, and that's why the game was so huge. I hate this, where the winner of a bad division gets to host, and it's Minnesota, Detroit all over again, where the difference between a 1 and a 5, and maybe we get round 3 with these guys coming up. But it just feels dirty how it was decided. In any event, an incredible game. They go 3 for 3 on 2-point tries. It's again, McVay, they can't get a first down, and you're also Seattle's playing the clock there, and you get in the special teams. They have blown all 4 games that they've lost. They've blown the game.
Yep.
The special teams got them in the Philly game. The special teams got them good in this one. Thicker kicker finally misses. You get the Shaheed return. He's not even touched.
Nope.
Again, it's only happened 6 times. You can't lose a game like that. Seattle was 40-1 in play with 7 minutes left, down 16. and they win the game in the first time ever someone has a walk-off 2-point conversion to win it in overtime.
By the way, very important landing spot, and I really hope people were not, and I know Derek Stevens came on after us in primetime last night. They took several six-figure bets on Seattle. And I hope people were not laying 1.5 or 2. I hope they were betting at that point Seattle on the money line.
Yeah.
Because the landing spots for a game to come out and be at 1 when it's right around that, the entire time this week, various books, Rams -1, 1.5, switching over to Seattle the other way. You could not lay 1.5 or 2 with Seattle last night if you were late to the party. Yep. I hope you didn't anyway.
Yep. I reached out to a couple people. It was a horrible landing spot for a couple books. Small loser at the Westgate, and then not so much here with the result on the game. It's bad for Seattle futures as Circa gets hurt by Seattle division, NFC, and Super Bowl.
So when I'm watching that game last night, I'm thinking, I'm actually having the conversation with JVT. Who's going to slow down that version of the Rams offense? And that's the version we've gotten almost pretty much the entire year. And McVay came out with a game plan against the best rush defense, EPA-wise, in the entire league and said, don't care what the numbers say. You guys aren't going to slow us down. Here comes Kyren Williams right up the gut.
Yeah.
And we're going to get 6-8 yards a pop. Good luck. And they were destroying Seattle. And Darnold looked lost again. Couple of INTs. Awful job by him again last night. And with no Devontae Adams, Stafford cooked to the tune of 457 yards. Like, who's beating that team? The answer, themselves. That's it. Only team that can beat them.
Yep.
They're a machine. They should be undefeated.
What's happened to this defense?
I don't know. It's a great question.
Thing. You saw how Goff cut him up? What happened in the second half against Philadelphia? What happened here against Darnold? As much as we made about the special teams, you can't give up a 16-point lead defensively. You got to stop Sam Darnold here. You got to stop something. You can't score 37 on the road when you're playing for the 1 seed and lose the game.
Absolutely not.
That's terrible.
Completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
So now they're kind of up against it. They can still be the 1 seed, but they need a lot of help at this point. And it's unreal that it's going to come down to this potentially with now Seattle and San Francisco playing in the final week, right? And by the way, Seattle is probably going to be in a tough spot when they go on the road and take on Carolina in Week 17. And everything now, the Matthew Stafford MVP numbers during the game when it was a blowout, he got as high as, that I saw, minus 1,400. So you're telling me after 457 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he didn't play a lick of defense or special teams, and that's why they lost, he came back to minus $2? Like, he should be, again, I will say this, and this is from somebody who has Drake May on a big ticket. Matthew Stafford should be unanimous again. Minus $2 should be minus 1,000 right now.
Fair enough. Right. They are bizarre markets.
Yeah.
And the fact that, are you going to get the MVP and the Offensive Player of the Year from a 5 seed? That I can't see. And you see the move from Puka from 16-1 down to 2-1, yet JSN has 100 yards and a touchdown, and they win the game. I don't know. It's like the Henderson thing. You just can't go from 20-1 to the favorite or 16-1 to the favorite based on one game. These seasons are too long.
Yeah. So Puka actually right after the game at DraftKings, and I tweeted this out, he turned into a $1.35 favorite at DraftKings. He was the favorite. Now this is probably how it's going to shake out because they have a very easy schedule. The last 2 games, bad defenses. Puka is probably going to lead the league in receptions and yards, and he might catch JSN for touchdowns. I don't know if either guy can overtake Devontae. Devontae's got 14 touchdowns, and overall, JSN has 10 receiving, and Puka Nacua has 8, I believe, in the air and 1 on the ground, so 9 total. But he's probably going to lead the league in he's like 40 yards behind him now. He's probably going to catch him there too. Mm-hmm. And he went back-to-back-to-back games now, 165-plus yards in the air. Now, I don't know if he's doing any favors here this week with what he was talking about and the nonsense he pulled off the field, if he's going to win over any voters that way.
No, yeah, that could play a role. He's acting weird. Mm-hmm. No doubt about it.
And also at least one book, maybe multiple books, Mike Macdonald's the coach of the year short shot now.
Yeah, but that's probably comes down to the San Francisco game too. Because I know the love for Shanahan's right there. Mm-hmm. But this is, and what does Vrabel do Sunday night? But I think at some point the Patriots' schedule could come back to bite them in terms of the awards as well. And it's just, that's another crazy market about what's going on. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot on the line here the last couple of games.
How often does the game of the year on paper actually live up to it like
true.
Last night?
And you were going to mention it on air, but overtime was 12-1.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was over. And then all these crazy props come in. Quarterback throws for 400. They both combined for 700 passing yards. Puka and JSN combined for over 300 receiving. You get the special teams. You get the 2-point try conversion. You had everything that cashed in that one, and Kramer did it again with Charbonnet.
Now, did Puka go? I know JSN did not.
Puka did not have a catch in the second quarter. Are you kidding me?
He didn't.
No.
I was going to say
he had 12 for 220, but did not have a catch in the second quarter. That's why this stuff is it's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's why this stuff, boy, that's easy. Puka was not going to have a catch and it's plus money? Come on.
Yeah,
He didn't do it in the second quarter. And then it was just like the Thursday night game against Arizona, where they can't get JSN the ball for an entire half, and he eats in the second half.
That's right.
That's it.
0 at halftime.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, it's a funny game.
I just assumed that Puka did clear all that. 5 yards every quarter, a couple catches,
right.
every quarter, 10 yards every quarter, whatever.
He had 4 in the first quarter and then disappeared and then just went wild in the second half.
Well, he had the one bet as well. 50 yards in both halves came in.
Yeah.
He must have been close to like 75 yards. Did he have 74 at halftime?
Yes, he did.
So he would not have had 75 yards in
Yes.
each half.
Yes.
Damn. That was.
But that's something we talk about, though. That's great to bet in play, though, with the props. They don't have an answer for him.
Sure, yeah.
They're not going to slow him down.
Yeah, a bunch of books do that now. That was, I don't know. I also, my biggest takeaway is, you're right. The Rams special teams and defense probably going to be an issue in the playoffs. I don't want to overreact to one game. I don't think Seattle's coming out of the NFC. I don't think that's going to happen.
Wow. After the win. Okay. Rams got a lot of things to clean up and fix. But the positives are they've blown 4 games.
Oh, Seattle got so lucky last night. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Darnold was awful for a half again.
Mm-hmm.
Tip my cap. He showed up when it mattered most, but he was not great before that. More NFL games. Teams are 14 and 32 straight up in this spot over a sample size of the last 46 games.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
Always follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Busy hour on tap. A lot of NFL games to get to. College football trends that are tremendous this time of year. And we will start by going out to the Progressive Guest Line every Friday at this time. VSiN host Mike Somich hops on the program. He's the co-host along with, I'm blanking on his name right now. That is an awful job by me.
Matt Brown.
No, not Matt Brown on the podcast. Patrick Maher.
Patrick Maher.
Patrick Maher. I blanked there. My apologies to Patrick. The podcast is called Sharp Money. It drops twice a week. Samich, good to talk to you. We typically just do NFL with you, but you like a couple of college bets, and let's get to one because the game starts tonight in about 3 hours. There's a team total here that you like between Oklahoma and Alabama. What do you like here?
Yeah, fascinating game with a total set at 40.5. We see some 41s enter the market now, but just interesting to see a college football game total this low. Hard for me to want to go in on the full game total or full game team totals here because we could have a little wilder of a second half, especially if one team is able to create a little bit of margin. The number one unit on the field for me is this Oklahoma defense. We saw what the Georgia defense was able to do against Alabama in the SEC title game. I want to try and focus in on this Oklahoma defense against an Alabama offense I think really struggles running the football, forced to be one-dimensional tonight, in what I think is going to be a very run-heavy game on the Oklahoma side to grind the clock. So let's look at the team total for the Crimson Tide, specifically first half here. I don't want to worry about what goes on in the second half. I want to focus on the first half where both of these teams still executing the game plan they entered the game with. You can get Alabama at 9.5, 10, or 10.5, depending on where you shop and what juice you want. 9.5 is sitting at even money. 10 is at minus 125, 10.5 minus 164. I went Alabama under 10 first half team total minus 125. I don't mind the 9.5, but I felt like the extra 25 cents is worth taking that 10 and creating the push equity on what is a commonly hit first half number.
All right, excellent. How about tomorrow morning, Miami catching 3.5?
I'm I am a homer. I am a Miami Hurricanes fan. I want to get that out of the way right away. But I do believe Miami has the advantage on both the offensive and defensive line. I think they've got the better units in the trenches in this game. You've also got Carson Beck at quarterback, someone I trust a little bit more than Reed on the other side. I think this Miami Hurricanes team is going to be able to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And if that's the case, I'll take the 3.5 here. Once we've got to the other side of the hook, I thought this was a pretty easy one to get in the account with Miami.
All right. Good job. NFL, Bills, Browns, total 41.5. The Bills averaging 158 rushing yards per game. Cleveland's getting gashed on the ground lately, especially what happened with Pollard. And, I mean, Sanders can make a couple plays here if the weather cooperates and they give him time. But Buffalo's had a ton of issues defensively, especially with their run defense. What do you think of the total here?
You're making my case for me here. I love it. Yeah, look, we're not going to have a weather game in Cleveland. It's going to be cold, but that's about it. We're not expecting any big-time winds coming off the lake, which means that the offenses shouldn't have too much trouble executing what they want to do. This Cleveland defense still getting respected in the market like it's a top 5, top 10 defense. They are lucky to be top half of the NFL with what they've been putting on the field the last couple of weeks. Yes, you have Myles Garrett. You've got the possible rookie of the year on the defensive side and Schlesinger as well. But at the same time, they're getting beat for big plays on the inside and outside. It's a Buffalo offense that should be able to effectively move the football on the ground and when they need to through the air. But on the other side, Buffalo defense still stinks. It's not good. Cleveland is going to be able to move the football as well. I think 41.5, way too low. I'll take the over here at 41.5 in the Bills and the Browns. And I'll add on to that. I'll take Shedeur Sanders over 178.5 passing yards in this spot as well. Again, I expect it to be a chase style of game script here, which means that you're going to have a Browns team that needs to throw the football. You've got a Bills secondary that doesn't scare anybody, a little banged up in the secondary as well. I think this Browns offense has success through the air. I think they help push this total over, and I think Shedeur Sanders goes over his passing number as well. So over 178.5 passing yards for Shedeur Sanders, over 41.5 in the Bills-Browns game.
Very good. Massive matchup. NFC South here, Tampa Bay and Carolina, the first of 2 meetings over the final 3 weeks of the season. Who do you like here in game one?
I like the Bucs, and I'm hoping I get a 2.5. I've already bet them -3, -105. If I get a 2.5, I will be betting the Bucs one more time here. You look at these two teams, and let's just be honest about the defenses. They're both not good, both bottom 10 in the NFL, but they are right around even. Now let's look at the offenses. Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, who looked very good on return. Chris Godwin starting to look like himself as well. You got McMillan back in that receiving core. You've got Ibuka out there. You've got Bucky Irving in the backfield. You've got Tristan Wirfs, who's going to play on the offensive line. You flip to the other side, and you're telling me I'm getting Bryce Young, Ted McMillan, but after that, it's Jalen Coker. After that, it's guys like Xavier Legette. Not names that I really believe in. Now, if the Panthers can run the football, you get a little more concerned, but this Tampa Bay run defense, pretty stout on the inside. I think this is advantage Bucs pretty heavily on the offensive side with two mediocre to bad defenses. I will happily lay the 3 with Tampa this week. I think they're going to be able to score at will here against this defense for Carolina. If that's the case, I think Carolina has a hard time being able to chase them down. Don't mind passing props for both quarterbacks if you're looking for a game where you want to go over both quarterbacks. I do think this is a lot of offense through the air for both of these teams.
Very good. We've talked about this many times on our show and with you as well, and they just gave him a nice payday and extension. Lawrence has a great rapport with Myers, and the targets are there, the yards are there. So what do you think of Myers here again against Denver?
It's amazing when you look at the stats and you look at the rating for Trevor Lawrence with and without Myers. With Myers, he is the number 1 rated quarterback in the NFL. Without him, he's like 19th. Yeah. It's amazing the difference he has specifically made for this offense. And this is a great matchup for Jacoby Myers as well, because he's not going to draw Pat Surtain throughout this entire game. Surtain's going to be on the outside. That generally means he's going to get Brian Thomas Jr. Jacoby Myers is going to wander all over the field. You'll see him in the slot. You'll see him on the outside. You're going to see him in trip sets. He is not going to have to deal with that coverage. We already know the relationship is there between Trevor Lawrence and Myers. Myers, an exceptional route runner, got the bag this week. He got paid by the Jags as well. He's going to catches the football every time it's thrown to him. I think this number is still too low. Books haven't reacted properly to what we've seen from Myers over the last few weeks since getting in this Jacksonville lineup. And since playing all of the snaps as well, he started out at 44% snap rate on the offensive side. He's over 90% now the last 3 weeks. I think that continues. I think he doesn't draw Surtain. I think this is a great setup for Myers to go over his 54.5 receiving yards.
Very good. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest VSiN host, Mike Somich, and he is on the Progressive Guest Line. 2 games tomorrow. You like a prop in each game. Game 1, Commanders taking on Philly. Eagles are laying 7 in this game, but you are targeting somebody that Mariota is going to be throwing the ball to tomorrow for Washington. Who do you like?
Let's hope he's throwing the football to him. This is one that's not for the faint of heart, because I'm going to go with Treylon Burks here, the number 3 wide receiver for this Washington Commanders team. It's a situation where you would expect Mitchell's going to be on the outside against McLaren. You've got Samuel in the slot. He's most likely going to draw DeJean. I'll go with the other wide receiver here, and that is Treylon Burks. Not a ton of targets on the season, but when he is targeted, averaging nearly 20 yards per target, his number all the way down there at 12.5 receiving yards. This is like, we'll go over the 12.5. We probably need 1 catch to go over that number. He's one of those guys I'm interested in laddering, though, because you have such a low total. If you start climbing the ladder at all, you are looking at huge plus prices, especially for a guy who is most likely to get targeted deep. Kind of compare him to Isaiah Bond on Cleveland last week, where he only had 2 receptions, but it was for 89 yards. If we get the targets to Burks and we get those down the field, we only need 1, maybe 2 passes, and we're able to eclipse some nice ladder marks. I took him up to 40. You can get 40-plus yards at plus 450. I'm hoping for 3 to 4 targets. That's all I want. Make 1 to 2 catches. That's what we're looking for here. He may not get a single target, but if he gets targeted, it's going to be downfield, and it's going to help him get to these ladders.
Very intriguing. How about the night game then, as the Bears are now about a 2-point favorite at home against Green Bay?
A fascinating football game here. I'm worried that we're not going to see a great pass rush from Green Bay without Parsons out there. We've been struggling to get pressures on the quarterback when he has not been, or when you remove him from that defense. That means that we're going to have time to throw. But the question is, who do we throw it to? Because Odunze going to be out, Burden going to be out. The logical choice there, I think, is between Moore and between Loveland. I like Loveland more than Moore. I think he gets more of the higher percentage targets that get caught. He's sitting at 44.5. Let's go over that receiving number. He should get 7-8 targets in this game. And if we can get 1 or 2 of those to be for 15-plus yards, I think he's able to easily get over this 44.5 reception yard total. So we're going to focus in on Loveland at over 44.5.
Very good. Love the analysis as always. One more bet that you like. I mean, sometimes it doesn't come through the way you're hoping it is, but how are we not going to get a ton of points in this Atlanta-Arizona game?
Yeah, this is one I played over at 47.5, rebetted at 48, and now it's sitting at 48.5. I still like the over, but I think this over is going to be driven by the Atlanta Falcons. This is a Arizona Cardinals defense that ranks bottom 8 in pressure rate, and it's a Kirk Cousins who, for all we want to make fun of him, when he has no pressure on him, he's a top 8 rated quarterback on PFF. He should have time to throw. We may get Drake London back, which would be great. If not, I still don't mind attacking this Arizona Cardinals defense, one of the worst at tackling in the NFL. You've got Bijan Robinson, who has the most broken tackles in the NFL when running the football. This just sets up the Falcons to be able to move the ball consistently throughout this game. Like the over, but I'm going to pivot toward that Falcons team total. Over 26.5, you can get it even money. So buy it up from that 25.5, which is the base number, is 27, a key number, 26, not nearly as important inside team totals. So let's take over 26.5 for the Falcons here at even money tomorrow against a bad Cardinals defense.
Awesome. You can catch Mike along with Matt Brown on the weekends here. Ready, Set, Bet, Saturdays and Sundays on VSiN, and also twice a week, Sharp Money's the podcast. Get it wherever you listen to your podcast, along with Patrick Maher, and he was on the Progressive Guest Line. Awesome stuff as always, Mike. Best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, guys. You too. Have a good weekend.
Yep, there you go.
Warren Sharp loves Robinson over longest rush, and Gannon blamed the practice rules for why they are so bad tackling. Okay.
They are
awful.
I will document this a little bit later on. Every one of their games lately.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, just going to the moon. Up next, more NFL, and I'll tell you which team is on a 26-9 run with totals as we continue with Week 16 of the National Football League. Next on Follow the Money, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome back. Thanks for watching today on YouTube TV, listening on SiriusXM Channel 158, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or any of our great affiliates across the country. More college football here. John Talty joins the program, does a great job covering the sport for CBS Sports, and he is on the Progressive guest line. Great story today, which we'll dive into here, John. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it. But let's begin with this, with Oklahoma and Alabama beginning in about 2.5 hours. Who do you like in the game? And if Oklahoma wins, is DeBoer back at Alabama next year?
I still think he is, but certainly it gets a little weird. And it gets weird for two ways. One, you've had multiple programs that have been interested in him, the recent being Michigan, but Penn State was there too. Does that job still being open? Does he think a little bit more about it? I think that's one question, even though he has tried to say all the right things publicly about not being of interest to him. And then two, just, this would be back-to-back seasons in which Alabama limps into the offseason. Last year was a disappointment, really because of a regular season loss to Oklahoma, which kept it out of the playoff. They lost to Michigan in a bowl game. It was pretty embarrassing, honestly. This season, another loss to Oklahoma, a bad SEC championship loss to Georgia, in which they had -3 rushing yards. To lose the opening round playoff game, I think would open up some questions if they're not already happening as to, whether this is the right fit, whether he is ultimately the right guy to kind of maintain or even come close to maintaining the standard that Nick Saban set. So I think there's a good amount of pressure. To me, honestly, I think he is the coach out of the 12 head coaches in the playoff. He's the one that I think there's the most pressure on. I think he really could use and needs to deliver a win here tonight. Mm-hmm. So for all those reasons, I still lean Alabama. There's a lot of reasons why not to. Of course, the fact that they've lost the last 2 games to Oklahoma. The running game has been non-existent pretty much all season, but especially against Georgia. Ty Simpson has not quite looked the same the last few weeks, but I just think that Alabama still has the more talent. I also think that we've seen just in the 2 years we've had of Kalen DeBoer, that team looks very good coming out of a bye or coming out of an extra week of rest. In the regular season, Kalen DeBoer's 4-0. That's included 2 wins over Georgia, which are his 2 best wins as Alabama's head coach. So I feel like that extra week of rest really helpful for an Alabama team that's banged up. And I think they eke one out against Oklahoma, but it's going to be tight.
Our previous guest, Pat Forty, said DeBoer is number 2 on the hot seat and most pressure. Number 1 is Golding. You're also going to the game in Oxford tomorrow. It's going to be bizarre where all the defensive coaches are staying and then the offensive guys left, but they're coming back to help out. And then they're still – LSU's going to pay Kiffin his bonuses if they win these games. I can't believe this. But what do you think that's going to be like tomorrow, and what are you expecting with the anti-Kiffin stuff there on campus?
I think that's what I'm most intrigued about, honestly, is just what kind of signs we might see. I'm excited to kind of get around the Grove early tomorrow and just see what the vibe is like. I would imagine there will be quite a few signs, quite a few anti-Lane Kiffin buttons around town. But, yeah, I mean, it's such a weird situation. Like, we have not seen anything like it before. I do agree with Pat that there is a lot of pressure on Pete Golding. Not because of whether he's going to keep the job or not. We already know that they've promoted him to being the head coach. That will continue beyond whatever happens in that first round playoff game. But the fact that Ole Miss crushed Tulane early in the season, that Ole Miss is a huge favorite. It's probably, and I spent a couple of years in Mississippi working at a paper there. It's probably the biggest sporting event in Mississippi State history. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're giving away Santa hats. They're trying to set a Guinness Book of World Records for most people wearing a Santa hat in one place. They're going all out. They're breaking out all the things, and so Ole Miss to lose that game would be absolutely devastating, and would really get the Pete Golding era off to a tough start in his first game as a head coach. I still think Ole Miss wins that game, but there's a chance it could get a little weird, especially if it's tighter than that 45-10 result that we saw back in September.
Your article was fantastic about all these coaches performing double duty. That ties into this angle as well. But how important do you think that could be where you have a coach who's trying to coach this game, but they already have another job lined up?
I think it's something that we just don't talk enough about. Like, just imagine if you had 2 full-time jobs at the same time. Maybe you guys have done it. I one time had a full-time job and wrote a book at the same time. And, like, it kind of drove me crazy. I was just working constantly. And, like, I think we just have accepted it as, like, yeah, these guys, it's just what they have to do. But just the idea of having to manage the pressure of both of these jobs at the same time. So, you mentioned Tulane. John Summerall is a good example of this. Mm-hmm. He is Tulane's head coach, and he's also Florida's head coach. And so he's trying to prepare for Ole Miss, a team that he lost to 45-10 earlier this year. He's also putting together a Florida staff. He's trying to recruit guys. He's trying to get ready for the portal, which is already starting up, even though it doesn't officially start until January 2nd. That's just a lot going on. And so I think it's likely that we'll get some weird result or something will happen that will be surprising to us. And I think this will be one of the factors. And I go back to, we're talking about Lane Kiffin, like, the reason why Lane Kiffin got fired at Alabama is because of how bad that Alabama team looked against Washington in a semifinal game. And it's because Nick Saban made the determination. This guy is distracted, understandably so. He's got 2 jobs at the same time. Like, he's not the guy to lead my offense moving forward. And so you've got both Oregon coordinators have taken other jobs. You've got both Texas A&M coordinators have taken other jobs. And so even these teams that we like, that we think are good, that could be a distraction. They might just not be on their A game. And when you're in the playoff in which you're competing against the best teams with the best talent, that slight edge off could be a huge difference. So, like, that Texas A&M Miami game, I think, could be a great example with Colin Fine already taking the Kansas State job. Jay Bateman's on the way out to go to Kentucky. That could be an edge for Miami, which is not losing any of those key coordinators or coaches this cycle.
Great answer. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, John Talty, covers college football, CBSSports.com. Great story up again today. And so there's also this that you wrote about. Next Tuesday, Paulie, is Festivus.
Yes.
Seinfeld fans, from 27 years ago, we all know what this is. It's the airing of grievances, and you wrote about that today. What is your biggest – people can go read the story, but what is your biggest issue right now with the state of college football?
Man, I've got so many, but I'll give you 2 quick ones. One, and this is probably more impacts me than the average person, but the idea of, like, kids who are like 16, 17 years old, I get it, they're young, but, like, they love to make, like, Christmas commitments and July 4th commitments. And it's like, just do it the day before, the day after. Like, why do you have to make – this is such like I get it's the biggest day to them, but, like, I have just – as you can imagine, having to cover this for many years, like, there's nothing quite like having to tell your significant other, like, hey, I'm sorry, I need to step out because this guy who you've never heard of who's 16 years old just decided that he really wants to play at Maryland next year. It's tough. It's tough to sell that one to the family. I've had to go through it a couple times. So that's one of mine. And then my more important one about college sports is that I just think that there's something – I love college football. I think it's unique. It's special. I grew up in New Jersey around pro sports, and I love pro sports too. But college sports is unique, and I just think that we need to protect what makes it unique. And I just think a lot of the leaders of college sports right now, a lot of the decisions that are being made are not to do that. I think a lot of it is in pursuit of that kind of extra dollar they think they can get available elsewhere. And I just don't think anyone is dying for a mini worse version of the NFL. I just want college to be college and NFL to be NFL. And I just think that with private equity and some of these other decisions that we're seeing, I just worry that we're going to lose what makes college football great. And I just don't know that the people who are running the sport right now really have its best interests at heart.
Well said. You can follow John on X. He is at J Talty. He is going to the Grove tomorrow for Ole Miss and Tulane. Enjoy the game. Love talking to you today, man. Thanks for the time. We appreciate that.
Appreciate you guys.
There you go. And
well
he
done.
was on the Progressive guest line.
Oh, there'll be some creativity tomorrow. They can't stand him. They were giving him the bird at the airport when he left and took the job. And then you got the offensive coaches coming back to help out. And then the defensive guys stayed there, and we'll see.
What do you think about Tulane Ole Miss first quarter, first half?
It's a tough game. I don't know.
Well, because they just come out, they're like, okay,
Yeah.
Look, I mean, everybody doubts us.
Yep.
Our play caller's gone. Kiffin, right? He said that nobody wanted him to leave. We all poo-pooed that on social media. We're glad he's gone. Now watch this. I know this is all narrative-based, but they just want to prove that Lane, they don't really like the guy, maybe. And like, we're going to be okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah, he did not tell the whole story about the kids want that. It was not true. The kids want me to coach the game. How many guys tweeted out? That's not what's said in the meeting.
That's exactly right. They made it a point, like immediately, to go to social media and say that. We'll expand on the playoff games coming up next. I'll give you an angle involving head coaches. It was 27-16 straight up last year, 28-14-1 ATS, and is 57% over the last decade. That's next on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Coming up in 15 minutes, our best bets for the weekend in pocket plays. Now we go out to the progressive guest line. Doug Kazarian joins the program. He's with Because We Win. Follow him on X at Doug Kazarian. DK, good to talk to you, man. Now let's talk this out here for a minute, because you and I were going back and forth last night after the NFL game. And obviously, it goes without saying, but there's no such thing as a lock. There's no such thing as free money. However, Matthew Stafford at around minus $2 to win the MVP. I think the number is absolutely laughable and almost insulting. You need to add a zero to that, in my opinion. So, your thoughts overall on the current number, and if there's something that should be done about it in terms of making bets?
Well, in a vacuum or in a perfect world, I totally agree with you. And I made the bet. It's worth betting now up until like $5, I think. I think it's insane how some of the voting has gone in recent years. I mean, I just have such a low opinion of voters at times that I just get a little gun shy. But at some point, we have to stop penalizing or punishing quarterbacks if their defense or special teams is bad. Like, I hate the win-loss record in general for quarterbacks when we compare teams, guys over the course of history. But Stafford had a monster game, over 450 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Should have had a 4th touchdown pass, but it was taken off the board in the first half because that stupid lineman down the field, which was a bogus call. But the special teams gives up a punt return. The defense, even throws a touchdown in overtime, and he still can't get the win. So, yes, there hasn't been an MVP that did not win their own division since 2008. But if the Rams and 2 other teams finish 13-4 in the division, I think that's the year you make the exception, right? But I do have concern that so many of these awards, they all want to hold out until the last little bit, and we see that in the Heisman. But in recent years, I give voters credit, whether it be last year, it didn't have to be a top-ranked team, or even going to Jaden Daniels, who didn't play a conference championship weekend. Travis Hunter was last year. So hopefully the body of work of Stafford, and I think just the other variables, like it's really hard to go back-to-back. So voter fatigue for Josh Allen. Drake May, he's too young, lost the face-off in Week 15 with Josh Allen. And Stafford leads the league in rating, passing yards, and passing touchdowns. He should already have this locked up. A lot will come down to next Monday night. They're in Atlanta. I fully expect Joe Buck and Troy Aikman to gush about him, much like we saw the broadcast team last night with the no-look pass gushing. If you go back to when Rodgers won it in the snow against the Titans, it was a Sunday night game, Collinsworth just gushing over. That influences voters, because a lot of these voters are afraid to be made fun of, and they don't want to vote stupidly. So they'll be like sheep. And so if he just plays well on Monday night, it's automatic. But I still think, even if they lose because of the defense or something fluky, I still think minus $2 or whatever it is, $2.25 is a great bet. I really don't think Josh Allen has much of a chance, even though he is the best player in the league. Stafford's had the MVP season, and I don't think Drake May has any chance right now.
Wow. Strong stuff. 9.5-point favorites on the road Monday night, by the way. I have a problem with the huge movement based on game to game, right? Not just this, but see the other. Henderson goes from 22-1 to the favorite, and Puka went from 16-1 to the favorite. Now it's back flip with JSN now, $1.60.
Well, the biggest thing with these markets is these odds makers don't really have an edge over the public, right? They don't know what's going on. They don't know what's being said. Yes, you can listen to some podcasts, there's a straw poll with bond temps in the NBA, but for the most part, they're all kept in the dark, and they're relying on sharp bettors to move the markets. But these are fake markets. I mean, during the game last night, Stafford was whatever it was, 1,500 because they had the big lead. I just think there's good opportunity. So I don't necessarily complain about the markets. I just lean into the variance.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to get opportunities. And the one thing I've noticed over the last month or so is when some of these coaches or whatever the award is, it's priced into how they've performed up until that point, but they're not really taking into account what's left the rest of the year. For example, golf weekend. Let's say Scheffler's 4 shots back after 2 rounds. He's the favorite because they're projecting how he's going to perform in rounds 3 and 4 over the weekend. But they're not doing that with some of these awards like Coach of the Year, where remember the Bears, I think, were even money to make the playoffs with about 5 weeks left in the regular season. But then they had Ben Johnson, the second favorite of Coach of the Year. They're not factoring in the fact that the Bears will be underdogs in so many games. Now they've pulled off an upset here and there. But I just think the odds makers aren't putting in the details into all this. So there are opportunities. And you mentioned the fluctuation. I think the fluctuation of a guy like Travion Henderson is all because of the voters are so nonsensical with some of their reactions that they really just vote in December. And we talked about it a few years ago when Tibbs won Coach of the Year for the Knicks.
Yes.
We saw it coming about a mile away. And just the fact that how the New York media market, things like that. So I think bettors are much more advanced. And I know, Mitch, you guys are rolling up your sleeves with the podcast on the futures. But I think this is where we have golden opportunities in these unique markets, whether it's draft, awards, things like that.
Another guy who fits that bill about trying to predict what's going to happen is Tyler Shuck. They could easily win out.
Yep.
A lot of bad defenses, and he could probably have awesome numbers in the final 3 games. Doug Kazarian, our guest, because we win here on the Progressive Guest Line. You also really like the Tennessee Titans on Sunday against the Chiefs.
Oh.
Tell us why.
Yeah, I mean, I remember an odds maker telling me this. It was 3 guys were out for some offense, some team in the NFL. It's we hate games like this. And then it's really, if you think about it, odds makers love 2 teams at full strength, Cowboys, Eagles, Sunday night, give me 3.5, throw it on the board. These are the games they really have no clue about. The Chiefs have gone to, 7 straight AFC Championship games. They've won 3 rings in the Mahomes era. How do you handicap and power rate a team? It's not just Minshew. It's a completely deflated team that had high aspirations. Kelsey couldn't even talk to the media after last week. Their superstar, their face of the franchise, face of the league, is tore his ACL. And now they got to go face these lowly Titans. You think they're practicing hard. Andy Reid's maybe past his prime with some of those decisions in that Texans game. Is he really poring over game film? Do they really care about this game? So I would be looking into alt lines, Titans money line, Titans minus 6.5. How do we have any confidence the Chiefs show up? Now, it's not the NBA where some team will lose by 40 or 50. I think the Nets won by 40 the other night. But because guys are playing for contracts and even backups and things like that. But I don't think they're going to be prepared at all. I think this is going to look like that Commanders performance after that huge emotional Sunday night game that went into overtime. The next week, they went and got crushed in Minnesota. I see a similar performance. And the Titans have looked much more competent since the new coaching change with Mike McCoy. And you look at the last couple of weeks, Cam Ward, I think, has taken this seriously. I think he's got great talent. So I think they're going to get up for this game. Now, whether they're good enough is a different story. But I think they are, and I could see the Chiefs laying an egg. So honestly, I thought the wrong team was favored. I thought this was should be a preseason game where the Titans are favored. And I don't expect much from the Chiefs because I just think it's a completely demoralized locker room right now.
Could be. Good angle. And you can identify the rollover very well. I'm interested. 3 minutes left. This is interesting. A quarter bet in the NBA. You wrote about this in the New York Post as well. Cavs, worst team in the league, ATS, 8-20. They just lost to Chicago. Now they're laying 4.5 at home. You're talking, you want a second quarter bet here?
Well, this is really important for live betting too, because all odds maker, I forget which odds maker told me this, but he made a joke. I think this goes back to Alabama, right? First quarters and first halves and things like that. They're lazy because they don't want to figure that stuff out. All they do is take the game line and do the half and quarter lines commensurate with that. And it's too hard to figure out substitution patterns. So when there's giant drop-offs with substitution patterns, you can sort of, pounce in the NBA live wagering. Well, with quarter lines, there's also substitution patterns in that regard, especially when a team is shorthanded like the Cavaliers. Now, Donovan Mitchell came out and came back in and started the second quarter the other day, but Cleveland's really hurting offensively with guys like Evan Mobley out and things like that. So the second quarter, it was my best bet on one of my shows the other night because they just played the other day and they landed 53, I think, in the second quarter, and the second quarter total is 58.5. I just think when you know the substitution patterns and there's a drop off and things like that, you can sort of, it's the margins, it's the edges. And I think that's an edge when they're going to run it back tonight because, there's the way the game flows and the substitution, certain personnel on the court. Second quarter is when a lot of these teams have their bench unit in, at least the first 6 minutes. I mean, if you think about Jokic, he doesn't play the first 5 minutes of the second quarter. Mm-hmm. So in this Cavs-Bulls game, now look, Chicago can score at will and their defense can give up a bunch. But I bet it the other night. I'm betting it tonight. I think it's a good play under 58.5.
Beautiful.
But I do think the Cavs are shaky. They should not be laying 7.5 points against anyone these days.
I'm not taking away from your handicapping at all or your research. That sounds a lot like Haralabob Vulgaris. That is a beautiful angle there, how you're thinking and how you're handicapping that.
Well, it's better if Mobley subs out. Sorry, not Mobley. Mitchell subs out for 3 minutes in the first quarter and then starts the second quarter, but he comes out as well in the second quarter for 3-4 minutes. So I think they're staggering it. But even when they stagger it, if it's a disruption to their normal routine, pro athletes are creatures of habit.
Right.
There's an edge in that angle as well.
Doug, great stuff. Follow him on X. He is at Doug Kazarian with Because We Win, and he was on the Progressive guest line. That was Dynamite, man. Thanks for the time. Best of luck this weekend.
All right, you got it, fellas. See you soon. I'm headed over to Circa.
Very good. Up next, we'll recap our plays from last night and tell you what we've added for tonight and this weekend. College football, NFL, boxing, anything else? That's next here on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.